The desert cry, the sun was falling heavy over the cracked alien desert. Twin suns, orange and pale blue, burned in the sky. Jason wiped the sweat from his forehead. His boots pressed into dry sand as he pulled his hover sled behind him, filled with salvage parts from an old crash site. He was a lone scavenger, a human, living on the edge of colonized space. The wind changed. It was sharp now, carrying something strange. A sound. Jason stopped. He turned his head slowly, listening. At first, he thought it was a dying animal. A soft, shaky whimper. But then he heard it again. Not just pain. It was crying, human-like, desperate. He placed a hand on his plasma pistol and began walking toward the sound. The rocks ahead looked like a fallen hill, broken and black. He stepped behind a cluster of jagged stones and froze. There, on her knees in the sand, was a woman, not human. Her skin was smooth and light violet, glowing faintly in the fading light. She had long silver-white hair that tangled in the desert. Wind. She wore torn robes, dirty and blood-stained. Her arms were bruised, her knees scraped. And still, she was kneeling, crying softly into her hands. Jason's voice was cautious. "Are you hurt?" The woman looked up. Her eyes were wide, full of fear and hope. They glowed like stars. And then, without warning, she dropped her hands and crawled forward, tears falling from her cheeks. "Please," she said in broken English. "Please marry me, or I die." Jason blinked. "What?" She reached out, trembling. "They left me here. I have no bond. I am not claimed. I am—" "Pray now." Jason looked around. "Who left you?" She shook her head. "No time. Please, bond me. You are human. That is enough. I beg you." Jason didn't move. His mind was racing. A strange alien woman begging for marriage in the middle of nowhere. Was this a trap? A setup? Something was wrong, very wrong. Still, the fear in her eyes wasn't fake. Her body was shaking from more than cold. She looked broken, starved, hunted, desperate. "I'm not marrying anyone out here in the dirt," Jason said. "But I can take you back to my camp. You need water, food, rest." The woman paused, then nodded slowly. "If I walk, they find me. I am marked. Who is they?" But she didn't answer. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed into the sand. Jason rushed forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Fully, her body was burning with fever. He could feel how light she was, like she hadn't eaten in days. There were bruises around her neck and strange silver tattoos on her collarbone. With a sigh, Jason lifted her gently into his arms and carried her to the hover sled. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket and gave her a small bottle of purified water. The woman drank slowly. Her lips were cracked and her hands were still trembling. "What's your name?" Jason asked. She looked at him for a long moment. "Elenia." "All right, Elenia, I'm Jason." Her lips twitched, like she tried to smile but couldn't. "Thank you, Jason." Jason guided the hover sled back toward his camp. The twin suns were nearly down now, casting long purple shadows across the sand. As they moved, Jason kept looking over his shoulder. Something didn't feel right. He reached his hidden shelter just before dark. It was built into an old cargo ship wreck, buried half under the sand. A perfect hiding place. Inside, he helped Elenia to a cot and gave her food. She ate like someone who hadn't tasted real food in weeks. She kept her eyes on the door. "You're safe now," Jason told her. "No one's getting in without me knowing." She nodded but didn't relax. After a while, she looked at him again. "Why did you help me?" Jason shrugged. "I help people." "That's it," she whispered. "Not many would." Jason wanted to ask her more. Who was she? What had happened? Why was she marked as unclaimed? But she was already asleep, curled tightly under the blanket, clutching it like it was her last hope. Jason stared at her for a long time. Out here in the desert, there were no accidents. Everything had meaning, and this This felt like something much bigger than just a rescue. He didn't know it yet, but by taking her in, he had just stepped into the middle of a dangerous alien law, one that would put both of them at risk. Outside, under the moonlight, dark shapes moved along the ridge. They had already found her scent, and they were not human. Asterisk. The old shipwreck creaked as the wind howled outside. Jason stood in the small control room, watching the security feed. The desert was quiet, but too quiet. His instincts kept whispering. Danger was near. Inside the shelter, Elena slept on the cot, curled under the blanket. Her face was peaceful. Now but earlier she had been shaking, even in her dreams. Jason had seen soldiers with battle shock before. This was different. This was fear that came from being hunted. In the morning, she woke slowly. Her eyes opened, blinking in the pale light of the emergency lamp. Jason brought her a warm drink, recycled water mixed with protein powder. She sipped it carefully, holding the cup in both hands like it was something precious. Her fingers were still trembling. "Did you sleep?" Jason asked gently. Elena nodded. "A little. Can I ask what happened?" She hesitated. Jason didn't press her. He sat across from her, pulling a small stool closer. "Look, I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, but I helped you. That means I need to understand what's going on." Elena looked away, then slowly pulled back the edge of her robe. Jason's jaw tightened. Underneath, her skin was bruised and marked. There were rings of faded purple around her wrists like she'd been tied. Silver ink symbols ran down her spine. Branding, Jason guessed. "Not decorative, ownership." She whispered. "I was born to the high caste. In the ruling bloodline of my people, I was promised to a noble, a powerful man. But he was cruel, controlling. He wanted me to be silent, to obey. I refused." Jason nodded slowly. "So you ran?" "I had help. A friend smuggled me out. But once I was outside, I was declared abandoned. According to our law, any unbonded female outside caste protection is considered unclaimed." Her voice cracked. "That means I can be hunted, sold, used." Jason leaned back, arms folded. "And marriage to a human makes you safe?" "Yes." Her eyes met his. "Your species is not bound by our law. If I am bonded to a human, no one can take me back. They would lose honor if they tried." Jason frowned. "So that's why you begged me?" "I had no other choice." Jason sighed. "You should have told me all this yesterday. I thought you would leave." Jason rubbed his face. He had no idea that helping a woman in the sand would drag him into some alien political mess. "So who's after you?" Elena looked toward the door. "His name is Varith. He's the one I was promised to. Warlord of the Blood Fang. He commands an army of private hunters. If he finds me, he'll drag me back, and no one will stop him unless I'm bonded." Jason's jaw clenched. What kind of sick culture lets that happen? Elena gave a bitter smile. "Power decides law, always has." Jason stood and paced. "Okay, I'm not bonding with anyone I barely know, but I'll keep you hidden. That's what I can promise." She didn't argue. Instead, she looked down. Quiet again. Jason noticed her hand resting over her ribs, wincing slightly. "You're still hurt," he said. "Let me check." She hesitated. "I'm not trying anything. Just let me see." She slowly pulled the robe aside, revealing her side. Jason's face hardened. A bruise spread across her ribs, deep blue and purple. She must have been kicked. Hard. He gently touched the skin around it. "You're lucky nothing's broken." She flinched. "Lucky isn't what I feel." Jason grabbed a med patch and placed it over the bruise. The patch glowed, releasing painkillers and healing gel. Elena exhaled, some of the tension in her shoulders easing. "I'll help you heal," Jason said. "But I need you to trust me fully." "I do," she whispered. You're the first one who didn't look at me like a thing." Just then, the lights flickered. Jason's eyes narrowed. Power shouldn't be flickering. Solar cells are charged. He stepped over to the controls. The monitor blinked, and then went black. A second later, red warning lights came on. Motion detected. Jason's body tensed. He pressed the manual override. The screen came back. Outside in the desert night, shadows were moving between the rocks. 3. No, 4 figures. Too large to be human. Too fast to be local scavengers. Jason grabbed his plasma rifle from the wall. "Elenia," he said, his voice calm but firm. "You need to hide now." She stood quickly, fear returning to her face. "They found me." Jason opened the hatch to the crawl space beneath the floor. "Get in. Don't come out until I say." She crawled in without a word. He sealed the hatch and covered it with the old rug. Outside, the shadows were getting closer. Jason stood in front of the door, weapon ready, heart steady. He had no idea who or what was coming, but he knew one thing. Whoever they weren't taking her without a fight. The night outside was thick and silent, broken only by the soft hum of the desert wind. Jason stood still, plasma rifle steady, eyes locked on the live camera feed showing movement in the rocks. His shelter was hidden well, buried halfway into the sand, surrounded by wreckage, but someone had found it. Not someone. Something. The shadows on the screen were tall, cloaked figures. Their shapes were bulky, their heads too smooth and round for helmets. Their feet didn't leave prints. They moved like ghosts, fast, silent, careful. 4 of them. Maybe more. Jason turned off the monitor to conserve power. He backed up slowly from the control panel and took position behind the entrance. His heart beat steady, not from fear, but focus. Years of survival on hostile planets had trained him well. He spoke softly toward the floor. "Elenia, you still there?" A small knock came from under the rug. 2 quick taps. Their signal. Jason breathed out. Good. She was alive. And hiding. Then came the first sound outside. A soft mechanical click, followed by another. And another. Jason's eyes widened. They were marking the shelter. He had seen this tactic before. Elite trackers use sound beacons to map underground rooms. They were about to breach, and they already knew where to hit. He powered up his rifle and disabled the exterior lock. The metal door hissed open. He didn't wait. Jason stepped out with calm speed and raised his weapon. "I see you," he said. "Into the dark. Don't move." 3 figures froze in their tracks. One of them turned slowly, its face covered by a smooth silver mask. Jason noticed the glowing tattoo marks on its shoulder. A blood fang hunter. "State your purpose," Jason ordered. The creature responded in perfect English, cold and flat. "You possess stolen property," Jason snorted. "She's not property. She was marked as abandoned by her people. That means she is claimable." Jason narrowed his eyes. "Not under human law." "You are alone," the hunter said. "You cannot protect her." Jason didn't blink. "Try me." The hunter made a small hand motion. Suddenly, 2 more shapes dropped from the rocks. Behind him. Jason spun and fired. The first shot hit one square in the chest. Blue sparks flew as its armor cracked. The second figure dove behind a dune, returning. Fire with an energy dart. Jason rolled, ducking behind an engine hull buried in the sand. The dart missed his head by inches. The first attacker groaned and dropped to the ground, sparking. "Back off!" Jason shouted. "I'll kill every one of you." Another voice came, deeper, darker. "Human," it said. "You have made a mistake." Jason turned and saw him, the leader. This one didn't wear a full mask. His face was reptilian, cold, with black eyes and 2 sharp tusks jutting from his jaw. He stood taller than the rest, his armor black with gold lines, a mark of rank. Jason aimed. "You must be Varith." The alien gave a slow nod. You interfere with royal matters. Royal? Jason laughed. You treat her like trash. She's hiding from you. She was mine, Vareth growled. She broke the bond. Jason shook his head. There was no bond. She refused you. That is not her right. It is now. She's under my protection. That makes her mine. Vareth's eyes narrowed. You speak of bonding? Jason didn't answer. Instead, he shot a warning blast at the ground between them. The sand exploded. The hunters scattered. Jason ducked back inside the shelter and slammed the door shut. He locked every seal and ran to the crawl space. He yanked open the rug. Come on, we're moving. Alanya crawled out, wide-eyed. You saw him? Yeah, Jason said. Vareth. He brought his goons. Her face turned pale. We can't fight him. We won't, Jason said. We'll outsmart him. He grabbed a pulse mine and shoved it into the main power coil. Then he opened a hatch in the floor, leading to a long escape tunnel dug weeks ago. Just in case, he helped Alanya inside first. Where does this go? She whispered. A buried rover I keep hidden in the dunes. They crawled fast, the tunnel narrow and hot dot above them. The shelter shook. Explosions. They had breached the outer wall. Jason pushed her forward. Go, faster. Finally, they reached the rover hatch. Jason kicked it open and pulled her inside. He sealed the tunnel behind them. The small craft roared to life, engines silent under the sand. They sped away under the moonlight, the shelter behind them erupting into smoke and fire. Inside the rover, Alanya looked back, tears in her eyes. My past won't stop hunting me, she whispered. Jason kept his hands on the wheel, eyes forward. Then we stop running. We fight smart. If Vareth wants a bonded bride, we'll give him one. Alanya turned to him. You don't mean... I mean, Jason said, voice low. We make it real. You want freedom, I want justice. So, let's play by their rules and break them. Asterisk, the rover glided through the dark desert, hidden beneath its sand camouflage coating. Inside, Jason and Alanya sat in silence, the hum of the engine the only sound between them. The world behind them was burning, but they didn't stop to look back. Alanya sat with her knees pulled to her chest. Her eyes stared forward, lost in thought. Her silver hair was messy, her skin still marked with bruises, but something had changed in her. She was no longer crying. She was quiet, focused, her breathing steady. Jason watched her from the corner of his eye. He had questions, too many. But he waited. She would speak when she was ready. Finally she did. You meant what you said back there? She asked softly. Jason didn't turn his head. About bonding? It wasn't a real offer. Not yet. It was a move to buy us time. Alanya's voice cracked. But for my people, even a suggestion of bonding with a human is sacred. If you speak it, we believe it. If you promise it, we bind to it. We seal it, Jason frowned. You're saying I already started something I can't undo? She nodded. I accepted it the moment you said it. In my heart I did. The ritual has already begun. Jason took a deep breath and slowed the rover. It stopped near a rock formation that shielded them from the sky. He turned to her. Alanya, I'm not trying to play with your culture. I just wanted to protect you. I know, she said, but you need to understand. I don't need protection alone. I need freedom. I need someone who won't abandon me like my people did. Jason leaned forward, resting his elbows on the dashboard. You barely know. Me, I know enough. You didn't trade me. You didn't use me. You stood in front of a warlord and said I was yours. Jason shook his head. That was bluffing. Alanya whispered. To you, maybe. But to me, that was the moment I knew. You were different. Silence followed. Jason looked away, unsure of what to say. He wasn't some noble warrior. He was a scrapper, a fixer, someone who just wanted a quiet life. But now, things were changing fast. Suddenly, the communicator in the rover buzzed. Jason. Check the signal. Encrypted message, human channel. He opened it. A rough voice spoke. Jason Thorne, this is Commander Haver from Outpost 9. We received a security ping from your shelter. Tracking shows hostile alien forces attacked your camp. Do you require assistance? Jason responded, too late. For help, they burned it down. Do you have a refugee with you? Jason glanced at Elenia. Yes, female, alien, needs protection. Understood. We need to verify her identity. If she is truly bonded to a human, we can invoke Article 17 of the Peace Code. That gives her full asylum. Jason hesitated. What does that require? A recorded proposal, spoken clearly, mutual consent, witnessed by a human officer. Jason's heart sank a little. It was real now. This wasn't a fake idea anymore. He looked at Elenia. She met his eyes. You don't have to, she said. If this is too much, I started this, Jason interrupted. And I'm going to finish it. He turned back to the console. Set up the broadcast link. I'll do it. The signal crackled and blinked green. Jason cleared his throat. Jason Thorne, citizen of Earth and outer colonies, choose to bond with Elenia of the Theran people. By my word, I claim her as my partner under human law. Elenia placed her hand over her heart. And I, Elenia of the Broken Caste, accept the bond of Jason Thorne. I choose him freely. I accept protection, partnership, and peace. The signal cut. Jason leaned back. It's done, he said. Elenia smiled, soft but real. Then, without warning, she pulled a small silver shard from her robes and slid it across her skin. Jason stood. What are you doing? It's tradition, she whispered. My blood must carry your name. She pressed the cut against a crystal disc. It glowed briefly, sealing the bond into her DNA record. Jason stared, stunned. You really believe in this, don't you? Yes, she said. And now? They must believe it too. But outside the rock shield, a pair of glowing red eyes blinked in the dark. The warlord scout had seen everything. The next day, the sun rose over the desert like fire spilling across the sky. Jason's rover sat hidden beneath rocky overhangs, wrapped in camouflage mesh. Inside, Jason and Elenia were resting barely. Neither of them had really slept. Moment the bonding declaration was made, the message had been relayed to the human colony on the nearby moon. Jason didn't know how fast they'd respond or whether they'd accept it. But it didn't take long. By morning, a shuttle arrived from Outpost 9, kicking up dust as it landed just beyond the canyon wall. Jason stood outside, weapon strapped but lowered. Elenia stayed behind the rocks, hidden just in case. She watched him from the shadows, one hand gripping the hilt of her small blade, the other pressed over the bond crystal on her neck. A man in a dark blue officer uniform stepped down the shuttle ramp. He was middle-aged, broad-shouldered, and all business. Jason Thorne? He asked. That's me, Jason replied. I'm Commander Haver. I heard you caused quite a political storm last night. Jason smirked. Didn't mean to. It kind of fell into my lap. Nothing falls, son. It always lands somewhere, Haver said, then added. I've got orders to verify the bonding and issue temporary asylum if it holds. But before I do, you need to know the full weight of what you've done. Jason folded his arms. I figured claiming an alien bride would upset some people. Haver stepped closer. Not just people, governments. You didn't just bond a Bespangni, foreign refugee. You bonded a royal bloodline, even if she's fallen from favor. That makes you a player in an alien dynasty war you know nothing about. Jason raised an eyebrow. So I made it worse? You made it official, Haver replied. Jason glanced over his shoulder toward the rocks. She deserves protection. That's all I care about. Commander Haver softened slightly. Good. You'll need to keep caring. Because now that it's public, her enemies will come for both of you with fire, especially Varith. He's got enough power to buy entire fleets. And he wants her back, not for love, but for control. Just then, Elenia stepped out from the shadows. She wore a simple white tunic Jason had given her, wrapped with desert cloth. Her silver hair was tied back now, and though her face still looked tired, her eyes were firm. "I know what I carry. In my blood," she said, "and I don't fear him anymore." Commander Haver looked her over. "So you're the girl he wants to cage. You're brave for showing yourself." "I'm not hiding anymore," she replied. "Jason gave me strength." Jason glanced at her, a bit surprised, but her voice had changed. There was steel in it now. Haver took out a small device and scanned the bond crystal embedded in her skin. The machine chirped once, confirming. "Bond is valid under Earth colonial law," Haver confirmed. "You are now legally protected under Human Alliance Code. But listen closely, protection doesn't mean peace. You've painted a mark on yourselves. The Blood Fang won't stop with legal warnings." "We're not afraid," Jason said. Haver nodded. "Good, because you'll need to leave this planet. We're requesting transport to the inner colonies for both of you. It's the only way to get you off Varith's radar for now." Elenia stepped forward. "No," Jason blinked. "What?" "I'm done running," she said. "If I leave, he'll just chase others. He'll take other girls. I won't let him keep doing it." Haver frowned. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm going to speak to the Theron Council," Elenia said. "I still carry royal blood. That gives me one last right. I can challenge his claim in public. In front of the council, I can make him answer for his crimes." Jason's eyes widened. "Isn't that dangerous?" "It's a death sentence if I fail," she said. "But if I win, I'll take back my name. And every girl he's hurt will be free." Haver was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "The council only meets once every orbit. Next gathering is in 5 days. On Virel Station, 3 sectors from here." Jason didn't hesitate. "We'll be there." Commander Haver shook his head. "You're either very brave or very stupid." Jason smiled slightly. "Maybe both." Elenia looked at Jason with a mixture of fear and admiration. "You're coming with me?" "Of course," he said. "We're bonded, remember?" Long silence passed. Then Haver handed Jason a clearance chip. "This will get you through system gates. But once you step into council territory, you're on your own. No soldiers, no rescue." Jason pocketed the chip. "That's fine. We're not looking for war, just truth." Haver gave one final look between the two of them. "Then may the stars protect you both." As the shuttle rose into the sky and vanished into the clouds, Elenia stood by Jason's side, wind blowing through her silver hair. She looked toward the distant stars where the council awaited Dot and where her greatest enemy would be waiting too. Asterisk. The Virel station hung in orbit like a giant glass spider, sleek, spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. It was the seat of many alien decisions, a neutral place where species gathered under strict codes. No weapons, no violence. No blood. At least, not openly. Jason stood near one of the upper observation decks, staring out the window at the black of space. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, growing stubble, armored jacket worn from days of running. Behind him, Elenia adjusted her formal robe. It was simple but elegant, the pure white fabric lined with thin gold, the traditional sign of a challenger from the Theron high caste. Her silver hair was braided now, pulled over one shoulder. She looked proud, calm, unshaken, but Jason knew her hands were trembling just slightly. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she said without turning. "This is the only way. I either speak or I disappear forever." Jason walked to her side. "And you're not disappearing." She gave him a faint smile. "Because of you." The council chamber doors opened with a loud Mechanical hiss. Two tall figures in shimmering cloaks waited at the threshold. The assembly is ready, one of them said in a flat tone. The challenger may enter. The bonded human may observe. Jason offered Elenia a final glance. She nodded, her chin high. They walked together through the wide, silver corridor and into a massive room that looked more like a theater than a court. High chairs circled above them, filled with different species. Dozens of races watched silently. Old laws, old power. Jason could feel the tension like a storm cloud. In the center of the room was a raised circle of light. Elenia stepped into it. A voice boomed from above, deep and ancient. One of the senior council speakers, Elenia of the Theron. You have invoked the right of public denial. You stand before us to challenge your designation as abandoned. Speak now. Elenia looked up, fearless. I was promised to Vareth without my consent. I rejected him, I fled. In response, he branded me as unclaimed, but I have bonded by choice to a human, Jason Thorne. I demand full removal of the abandoned mark, and I request witness judgment on Vareth's actions. Murmurs filled the chamber. A few Theron elders leaned forward. Then came the next voice. Low, cold, familiar. He speaks of choice, but she forgets her place. Jason turned sharply. Vareth had entered. He walked into the circle slowly, wearing ceremonial armor, black with red trim, lined with living metal veins. His tusks were polished, his eyes sharp. He looked down at Elenia like a spider looks at a fly. I granted you power, he growled. I offered wealth, a title, safety. You spat on it all. I asked for freedom, Elenia replied. You offered chains wrapped in silk. The council called for silence. Vareth, the speaker said, you must answer the accusation. Did you mark her falsely? She ran from a sacred promise. That is betrayal. Under Theron law, she was never bonded to you, Jason. Cut in. You can't betray what was never yours. Vareth turned to him slowly. And you, the outsider, the scavenger. Do you think your weak laws mean anything in our blood rights? I think her voice matters. That's why I'm here. Vareth's lip curled. You are nothing. She is mine by right. You'll regret stealing her. The chamber darkened slightly. Tension rippled, but then the council leader raised a hand. There's only one way forward. As per custom, when two claims are made, a challenge must be decided by trial. Jason frowned. Trial? The speaker clarified. A duel, not of weapons, but of truth. Everyone turned toward the trial. Platform, a raised circle of energy behind the chamber. It pulsed with light. One enters, the voice explained, and faces the shared memory. Their truth, their thoughts, their pain, all become visible to us. If the heart lies, we will see. If it speaks purely, the light will judge. Jason looked at Elenia. Can you do this? I must. She stepped forward onto the platform. A beam of soft light wrapped around her. Her body tensed, eyes closed. Then images began to rise into the air like smoke. They showed her memories, a younger Elenia crying in a golden room. Vareth towering over her, his words full of control, his hands tightening around her wrist. Another scene, her escape. Running barefoot through the desert, hunted by silver-skinned soldiers. The moment Jason lifted her from the sand, the crowd was silent. Jason clenched his fists. His jaw locked tight. Then Vareth stepped up next. He did not hesitate. But his images were cold plans, calculations, viewing Elenia as a prize. His mind showed no affection, only ownership. When the light ended, the platform dimmed. The council leader stood. The truth has spoken. Jason and Elenia waited, breath held. The speaker's voice echoed, final and clear. Elenia of the Theron is no longer abandoned. Her bond to the human is recognized. Vareth's claim is denied. Gasps filled the room. Some cried out. Others stood and clapped softly. Viareth roared in fury. You think this ends me? I'll take her back by force. He reached for a hidden blade, but Jason was faster. He stepped between them, raising a pulse knife. Don't try me again. Security. Bots swarmed in, surrounding via a single quotes re to dot. He was dragged away, screaming. Alenia stood silent, tears in her eyes. Jason stepped to her side and whispered, You're free. No, she said softly. We both are. The station buzzed with quiet celebration. But Jason and Alenia didn't stay to watch it. They walked down a long corridor together, away from the council chamber, their footsteps slow but steady. The walls around them shimmered with soft light, and guards saluted as they passed, not just because of Jason, but because of her. Alenia was no longer a fugitive, no longer hunted. Her name had been restored, and her freedom was now law. But freedom, Jason knew, was just the beginning. They reached a quiet hangar bay where a human shuttle waited for them. The pilot stood near the ramp, nodding politely. The engines hummed, ready to fly them to Earth's core colony. But Jason didn't move yet. He stood still, looking out the wide hangar window into the sea of stars behind him. Alenia was watching him carefully. You're quiet, she said. Jason shrugged. A lot's changed. Yes, she said, stepping closer. But not one thing. Jason turned slightly, puzzled. What's that? You and me, she whispered. You said words to protect me. You didn't mean to bond. But now, we've walked through fire together. You know me. I know you. We stood in front of death, and lived. So I ask again. She dropped to one knee, this time by choice, not desperation. Her voice trembled. Will you marry me, not to save me, but because you want to? Jason stared at her. His throat felt tight. He remembered the moment he first saw her in the sand, begging for help. That broken woman was gone now. Before him stood someone strong, proud, and unafraid. And despite all they'd been through, or maybe because of it, his heart had changed. He knelt down too, facing her at eye level. I want to, he said softly. Not because you need it, but because I do. Alenia smiled. It was the kind of smile Jason hadn't seen before. Not just relief, but true joy. The kind that comes after pain, after survival, after truth. They stood together, and the hangar. Lights dimmed slightly as the ship's systems adjusted. The pilot waited patiently. But Alenia turned to Jason and said, One more thing. Before Earth, I want a ceremony. Not in halls of power. Not with gold and law. I want one that feels real. Jason nodded. Then let's do it the human way. Simple. Honest. They took the next shuttle to a small green moon, just outside the system. A peaceful, unclaimed place with grass-covered hills and deep blue skies. No one watched them here. No one chased them. For once, they were alone. Jason built a fire from broken driftwood near a clear stream. Alenia found desert flowers growing wild under the rocks and braided them into a crown. She placed it on her head and stood barefoot in the grass, smiling like she was home. They spoke no grand vows, no complex traditions. Jason simply said, I choose you, always. Alenia answered, and I walk beside you until the stars fade. Then they held hands and stood in silence as the fire burned beside them, the flames reflecting in their eyes. Later that night, under a sky full of stars, Jason looked up and asked, Do you think Vareth will come back? Alenia didn't look afraid. She leaned her head against his shoulder. He can try, she said. But I'm not the same woman who begged in the sand. I have you now. I have myself. Jason kissed the top of her head, then let him come. We faced worse. They watched the fire die down slowly, until only glowing embers remained in the distance. A new dawn began rising. A soft wind swept across the grass. They didn't speak again. They didn't need to. Two lives, once strangers, now bonded not just by law but by choice, sat together in quiet peace. And somewhere in the dark, across the stars, their story began to spread. The tale of a fallen alien woman who found her voice, and the human who heard it. They said love was rare in space. But sometimes, all it took was one man who stopped and listened to a cry in the desert, and one woman who dared to rise from the dust and ask to be loved. The end.